and welcome back to my Let's Play of Dirt Rally. We are here in Sweden for the final event of our Open Championship here in the 1960s Mini Cooper. And things have been going pretty well, but I am hesitant to believe that we'll continue that. Sweden, I've always found to be probably the toughest of the areas, for several reasons. I think it's one of the hardest to learn the tracks for because there's not that much visual variation, and that's sort of what happens when you've skipped all of the snow around at each point. And whilst I think snow is a really interesting rally surface and certainly shouldn't be neglected in that sense, it doesn't mean that everything looks very white. And in contrast to, say, Monaco, which also has snow but has snow very much in moderation, here I find it quite difficult to, recognise what a track looks like compared to another one, which is disappointing because I think each track here has its own positives and negatives. A lot of the Sweden tracks have a really interesting balance between very high speed and quite twisty technical sections. But the other thing is that it's probably the most, I don't think, it's not necessarily the narrowest, but it's similar to Finland in that, it's probably the worst of all the rallies in how strict it is with being offline for like the entire, for like every stage. And I would be surprised if we don't get at least a couple examples of that. Here's one. So we obviously have the snowbanks that we're threading our car between the entire way through, and it's just the fact that you go, that was brakes very loosely working there. Sometimes you just like get absolutely no feeling through the brakes as well, which is very annoying. It'd be quite hard to slow yourself down, which means that the high speed stuff is scarier and the low speed stuff is even tougher to sort of maneuver through.
Crest jump, right 560, right 440.
So you can see I'm going too cautiously at the moment, but I haven't yet got to a point where I can feel very comfortable firing the car through these narrow things, because you get caught in a snowbank and sort of like the best thing that happens is you lose a bunch of time just through slowing down, but you will very frequently be spun and require like usually like a 3-point turn just to get it back around, which is never going to be a quick way through a stage. A few other bits and bobs. We had a good final sector there, so 2 green, 2 red, down by a couple of seconds. A lot of these stages are very, very short. Is something else that we'll discover as we go through. So I think this is actually, you can see how sort of straight it is. We actually have each of them, which is something that does not usually happen in these open challenges. You usually get pairs that you reverse, but we actually have one of every single, we'll drive over all 4 unique sections of the Swedish rally.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So that is good. But yeah, so I think you take, say, Monaco. So Monaco, by and large, is actually pretty generous. You make a bit of a mistake, and quite often you'll just have to collide with the barriers or make some other sort of
Into left 6, 100.
You know, obviously it slows you down, but you don't really lose enough time. And obviously there are sections where that is not the case. There are sections where you will lose an awful lot of time because you'll, you know, because you'll wreck, because the barriers are not car-proof, as it were, or there are sections where, you know, you make a small error and you will spin, but it's nowhere near as consistent through here. You know, similarly in Finland, you know, you get stuck into those ditches down the side and you lose a fair amount of time and a fair amount of control, which is probably more of the time lost there. You know, the desire to get back control is stronger than the immediate time loss. But you can, you know, in a fair few of those cases, you're actually still going to be able to recover it. Whereas here, you get off the line and you are always at risk of spinning. You are always at risk of being thrown up the bank and, you know, losing a bunch of time. And combine that with the braking, which is, I find, inconsistent at best at times. Your stopping distance really does seem to vary quite a lot.
And left 4 opens over crest 80.
You know, you've got a host of problems in this particular rally.
Right 2 long. Into left 2, keep in.
And the funny thing is that I remember my first time through a Swedish rally when playing the game, and I won by loads. I had a really big lead in the end, even though I was making lots and lots of mistakes. And looking back, it probably was the situation that we had last time in Wales, where at least the first, maybe even the top 2 drivers who were, you know, largely competing with me for the championship, had suffered wrecks in some sort, or had suffered some sort of issue such that their times were really slow. Because since then I have not had a lot of success in the snow here, and yeah, that happens a lot. It's just sort of like, it's interesting how your first introduction to these rallies can be very different.
And right 3 through dip, crest. Left 5, half long.
Definitely lost time in that sector.
And right 2 over bump.
We may well lose time in this sector as well.
Caution, turn left 2, 60. Right 5 past junction 40. Care left 3 over small crest, opens past junction and tightens over crest. Right 4 keep in, 40 over long crest. Right 4 half long, into left 4 half long, 60 through dip. Left 5 half long over crest, into right 5 40. Right 6 over crest jump maybe.
I also find the lack of grip also leads to
60, left 5.
a lack of responsiveness in the steering. Like quite often you find yourself drifting quite a lot, or just sort of sliding as opposed to actually, you know, properly getting the front end around the corner.
Left 5 long through bump dip.
Like there, I felt like I was turning. You know, I gave a fair amount of turn to try and get round the corner, and just didn't get any response out of the front of the car. It just was not trying to get around that corner. Still, it's good to win a stage. We're very close to the top, which is very nice. We'll have 2 more to come through. I think Björklangen might well be one of the shortest stages. Like it's only 5 kilometers, and as opposed to, say, this one, Skogsrallyt. I am butchering that pronunciation there. As I'm probably here, it might be like Björ. Anyway. But yeah, obviously this one's quite a lot twistier than this one, so I think sub 3 minute stages are pretty rare in the game as a whole. So
5, 4, 3,
Anyway, so far we've managed to avoid any major incidents and have stayed pretty competitive. It's clear that if I was really on it, you know, Mick probably being successful with a lot of these.
Crest into left 3 long.
You know, whilst I haven't made any big errors, we have not been perfect to, you know, any degree with regards to how well we've, say, stay cornered and stuff like that. Again, just
into right 4 over crest.
So little response through the wheel.
Into left 2.
Yeah, just like get round that
right
corner.
660. Right 4 long, 100 over bumps.
But it's weird because I feel like at times also the
right 6 over crest jump maybe 40. Right 3 over crest, open 60 bump.
The notes that the co-driver is reading out, they seem to differ the most in Sweden to some extent. Like there are a few corners here and there that you're just like, no way is this a 2, or no way is this like a 4.
Left 2 over crest, long, and right 3.
Like, I could be carrying so much more speed through this corner or this corner, and you're not because of the pace notes. There you go.
Left 5 crest, 60 over small crest.
And that could be a frustration.
Into right 2 long.
And again, it obviously then just leads into sort of like, now next time I see a 2, I'm going to feel like I can put more speed into it, when actually this one's tighter than the previous one, and so, you know, taking more speed to the death, you know, is death of your run. Still, good 5-second lead is a good start. Yeah, again,
caution right 4, left 1 past junction.
Very much riding up on the banks and losing a bit of time.
Right 3 half long opens into crest 40, left 2 into right 2
don't make
long.
too many more mistakes. We shouldn't
left
really
5,
lose 5 seconds, I don't
crest.
think.
And right 5 long over 2 crest 40. Left 3 long 60. Care right 4 tightens over crest 40. Right 4 long over crest. Into left 2 half long 40.
Okay, so something's happened. No way should we be 11 seconds
right
up.
2.
I've not been driving well enough to be 11 seconds up, so something must have happened to our close competitors.
And left 3.
I don't know whether the sort of
right 4 half long,
odds of CPUs having issues increases with decreases with the difficulty as well. That may well also be something else that happens, because we've had quite a large amount of fortune from the perspective of the high-level CPUs having issues. And it looks like that's going to continue for us here if we lost time in that last sector, so it's kind of confusing, unless maybe only second. Okay, so Scott had a crash. J. Reed picked up 10 seconds on Miller though, which is not something I expected. That did not, like, there was just that middle sector where we seemed to pick up a huge amount of time for some reason. Anyway, no, that takes us into the lead, which is not what I was expecting. And so we have one final track to try and pick it up. This is one of the longer sort of short tracks, you know, one of the longer half tracks here with at 7 kilometers. But it's also pretty damn fast, so
4, 3, 2, 1, go. Left 3 into right 2 tightens 1 into left 4 half long into right 4 long.
So if Reed is struggling, and
caution,
well, I mean, we've still got Miller
left 3 tightens
behind
and right
us,
5.
so
into right 4
And
half
he is our
long,
closest
over bump
competitor,
60.
only 9 seconds
Left
down in
3
the
through
rally,
mid,
so
tightens 2 over
still got to
crest,
perform,
80.
still got to hopefully not make any big errors in order
Care right 4
to
half long,
be
over
victorious.
crest. And
That's
left
nice.
6 over small jump, into right 6, 60 over small crest. And caution left 3 continues over 2 crests, 80.
Still a little bit.
Right
Brake.
4 half long, 130 line over small
Yeah,
crest.
not brake nearly well enough to get through that corner there.
Left
This
4
one
through
really
dip,
is
keep in, crest, 60.
like sort of a very
Right 3
complicated
half
game
long,
of chicken
40.
where you're like constantly trying to be like, can I afford to carry this much speed
Left 3 don't
at
cut,
this part of the
into
track?
crest, 60.
You know, am I gonna?
Right 6, 80. Right 6 over bump
Am I
continues
just
for 80.
gonna lead to
And left 6
absolute
long over
catastrophe
bump,
if I
80
do
over
this?
bumps. Caution right 6 over long crest.
Here the track
Into
starts
left
speeding up
6.
very much.
And caution right 5 over small jump and small jump.
Quite
Right
into the
5
bank.
over jump bad camber. And left 5.
Well, obviously
into
the problem
right
is
6
because
bump.
everyone else will be going through this very, very fast. If you
Left
make a
5,
mistake
and
and
right
don't
6
carry
half
the
long over bump, don't
required
cut,
speed,
80.
as we have a pretty big incident, then you're going to lose even more time. Okay, we have our work cut out
Left
for us
5
now.
and keep right over long crest. Caution left 4 long opens past junction, 60. Caution turn square left late, narrows. 100. Crest 100. Right 4 past junction, 130.
Yeah, so we're down on time.
Left 4 don't cut. And right 4 opens and continues for 80. 60 bridge, 130. Keep right over jump.
9 seconds down. Still going to need to pick
Into
up
left 5 long
some
over crest,
time here,
150 over bumps.
if we can.
Caution braking crest, right 4 continues for 80. 100, past junction, crest jump maybe 40. Left 4 half long over bump,
So there,
open
didn't need to
60
brake nearly
bump.
as much as we did, but better that than the
Right 4 long past junction, tightens. Into
punishment.
crest and left 4 half long 40. Right 3 100.
Yeah, that's good, that's
Right
good.
3 long opens over crest line for 100. Caution bump, left 4,
Not looking
right
good for having
5,
picked up time on Miller.
and left 3 tightens
10
over
seconds,
crest.
yeah, down a little bit
Into
more.
right 5 over bump 40.
Obviously just a little
Caution
too
left 3
cautious
over
here and
crest.
there. And, okay. Okay, so second
And
overall
open
it looks
hairpin
like,
right.
because there's definitely, unless Miller has some sort of catastrophe in the last
Into
bit,
left 3 60 crest 40.
we will not
Left
finish
5
within
long.
9 seconds.
Into caution right 6 over bump. And left
So
4
as the
half
pressure's
long,
back
don't
on,
cut,
make the
80.
errors. Not good.
Left 5 40. Left 3 over crest bump 80. Caution right 4 over crest past junction. Left 2 half long and crest. Into right 3 long over bump tightens. And right 5 over bump 40. Left 3 long past junction opens. Into right 6. And left 3 long. Into right 4 over crest bump tightens 2. And right 3 over crest to finish.
Yep, a lot of time lost at the end there. 18 seconds down. Our Mini not looking too great at the end, but there we go. So that is disappointing, to say the least. Not quite how we wanted to finish off, given how well everything else has gone. But we're going to win. We're going to win overall, which is exactly what we want for first. And the only rally, so we lost in Greece and we lost in Sweden, which are generally the two that I would always considered being the toughest. Almari, despite sort of never really seeing to be too, like, obviously the consistency of Almari means that he gets promoted instead of Reed, despite Reed probably being much faster, given his average sort of third, second, 14th, 11th, very much those last two hurting him a lot. All minis going up, so yeah, we will see how we continue. We have been promoted to the Clubman Championship, which is really what we were looking for. And yeah, in the next episode, we will be starting off a Clubman Championship. So I hope you have enjoyed this episode of my Let's Play of Dirt Rally. And I hope you'll join me in the next where we'll start the Clubman Championship. Now, each rally will have 6 stages, which means there's a couple more chances for me to really mess things up each time. And we'll see how we fare. So I hope to see you on the next episode.